Well, Michigan Virtual is celebrating its 20th year of operation, and I don't know how things work in your country, but in our country, organizations are either typically identified as for-profit, like a business, or not-for-profit, or sometimes referred to as a non-governmental entity. So we're a nonprofit organization with an independent board of directors. Been around for 20 years. We got started in 1998, and our initial work was on workforce development. So we were helping people who were already in the workforce deliver online education and training. And we had been up and running for about 2 years, and we were asked by our governor and our legislature to do things in the kindergarten through 12th grade arena in public education. And so we were directed to create the Michigan Virtual School, and we began that in 2000, initially offering higher level, more rigorous courses for high school juniors and seniors. And in 2004, we really went through a reorganization and decided to discontinue the work that we were doing with a workforce development, working with people who are already in the workplace, and made a decision to really focus in on K-12 education. And so what we've been doing, Guadalupe, for the last 15 years is delivering online courses to middle school and high school students, so secondary level students. In this past year, we've delivered a little less than 30,000 students to Michigan students. And then we deliver online professional development to teachers and administrators who work in the school district. And then the third thing that we do is we operate the Michigan Virtual Learning Research Institute. So we have a small research team, and then we contract for researchers. But we're trying to do a better job of tease out what is best practice in online and blended learning, both on the student side as well as on the adult side. And so those three things, I think, maybe make us a little bit unique. There are lots of organizations that do online learning for students. There are lots of organizations that do online professional development for teachers. And there are some organizations that do research, but we do all three of those.
That's impressive. Thank you so much. What do you think is Michigan Virtual's contribution to the high school level? How have you changed the panorama?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things. Michigan was the first state in the United States to implement high school graduation requirements that included an online learning requirement. And so in 2006, Michigan was the lone state when it revamped its high school graduation expectations in terms of what every student had to do before they could be granted a high school diploma. That was the addition of having an online learning requirement. Since that point in time, a number of states, I think we're over 10 states now, have an online learning requirement as a condition of graduating from high school. So we were instrumental in trying to convince our legislature and our governor that it made sense for young people to develop a skill set while they were still in high school to learn how to be an online learner, knowing that was likely going to be a skill set that they were going to want the rest of their life, going into college and university work, as well as just into the work world. So I think the online learning requirement is probably something that we did that shifted at least public education here in Michigan. And then I think the other thing that we have done is to help migrate online learning from a reputation of something that's looked upon as kind of an experimental pilot to something that could be legitimized and seen as an authentic way of teaching and learning. And our voice, I think, has helped to shift that culture mindset with the administrators and teachers that work in K-12 education. It has not been a short battle, it's been a rather long battle. In fact, we still have school administrators that are skeptical and are not quite convinced that online learning is good. And I think it's fair to say that if you think back to when you went to school, there were classmates that you had that did really, really well in that classroom environment, and then there were other students who just for whatever reason did not excel. And the same is true in online learning. You have some kids who really excel in that environment, but the reality of it is, as technology continues to have an impact on everything that we do, being able to learn online is really becoming kind of a basic skill set that you want all of your citizens to have. And so I think we've helped to legitimize online learning as no longer kind of an experimental pilot activity. But more importantly, we thought that the real growth was going to be in the supplemental side where, a student goes to Mumford High School and they want to take AP Physics, or they want to take Mandarin Chinese, or they want to take Spanish, whatever it is. And either they have a scheduling conflict, or it's just not available at their local school district. In Michigan, the northern portion of our state is extremely rural, and long distances between home and school and between schools. And sometimes you have high schools that might have 100 students or fewer, and so you've got very small student populations, and they may not be able to offer a lot of world languages. And so we felt like our biggest role was not trying to operate a full-time school, but to be a supplemental provider and to showcase how it can be done right, and to really try to be a model for school districts going forward. Or the students that we serve, for the most part, attend a public school or a non-public school. In some cases, they're homeschooled, where their mom and dad are taking the lead. But this year, we'll work with over 500 schools, and we will deliver around 34,000 online courses to Michigan students at that middle school and high school level, secondary level. And the courses would be the equivalent of one semester. So a half credit would be the designation that they would get. We know that we have some students that would take more than one class, but for the most part, we would not provide the entire educational experience to that student because they're attending a brick and mortar school, in their local community.
In completion rates from 55 to 86%, how did you do this magic?
Well, so we know that the students that we serve tend to be a little higher performing students in their home district. And so our courses cost money. School districts have to pay for them. They seem to be comfortable paying the money for a high performing student. And then when it comes to the low performing student who's in a credit recovery situation, that's when they tend to look for those lower priced kind of page turner credit recovery options that may not even include an embedded teacher. And all of our courses include a highly qualified, embedded teacher. So I think the first thing is we're starting with a better student. The second thing is that we work really hard to train our local mentors. So these are school employees that are at the local student's district who have a responsibility to help that online learner with some of the support that they need in their, so do they have access to a computer? Do they have access to the internet? When the student has not logged in for a few days, our online teacher can communicate with that local mentor and say, the student hasn't logged in. So I think we do a lot of work with our mentors who support that student. And I think at the end of the day, I think our course content is fairly rigorous and designed from an instructional design standpoint, represents high quality content. And if the students are engaged, they have a good online instructor, and we obviously include an online instructor who goes out of their way to try to make sure that that student is successful. So all of those things combined, I think, represent why we have a higher completion rate.
Okay. Will you please talk a little bit about the Quality Matters K-12 secondary standards for online and blended courses?
Yeah, so QM has done a lot. They've done a lot more work at the higher ed level, but for the last 6 or 7 years, they've gotten into the K-12 market, and they have developed a rubric to help evaluate courses. And we've made a decision to be a user of that service. And so when we build a course, we're increasingly having those courses reviewed using the Quality Matters rubric and reviewers. So you actually pay for this service and have them review the course, and then you'll get the results of that. And I'm proud to say that of the courses, and I think we probably had close to 40 courses reviewed and approved by QM at their highest level. And so for us, it's a quality standard, and it's using some external validation. So it's not just us looking at the courses and saying, yeah, they're really good courses. Somebody's using a rubric, somebody who's been trained on how to use that rubric. And in some cases, we've gotten feedback where they might look at a part of our course and give us some feedback, and then we've allowed to take that feedback and drive it back into our design process to actually make the course better. And I'm finding that more and more, at least state virtual schools, are starting to look at Quality Matters as a reliable, trusted source to measure the quality of an online learning experience. And the first role was really one of change agent. We were trying to push the envelope and do something new and innovative and different. And obviously, in 2000, when we started the virtual school, nobody was asking, I don't remember any principals or superintendents asking for online learning. So change agent, that's one role that we've played. The second role that we've played is becoming a service provider. We make available, we sell online courses for schools all over the state of Michigan. And you run an organization very differently when you're trying to provide a very good product or service versus just being a change agent. Because if you're just trying to be a change agent, you're just throwing things out there and seeing what sticks and what doesn't stick. You're just trying to disrupt, things. So we've played that disruptor role, but we've also been trying to serve as a high quality online course provider, making sure that trainings run on time, that it's affordable, and all those things. And then the third role that we have played is a capacity builder. And we're ultimately trying to teach people how to fish. And so if you think of those three roles kind of working in a spiral, we'll do some things to disrupt, to be a change agent. We'll learn from that. We'll try to take that, what we learn, put it into our services that we offer. And then when we get really good at delivering that service, we try to teach people how to fish, how they might do it for themselves without necessarily having to rely on us. So for us, that's been kind of our cycle of innovation: change agent, service provider, and capacity builder. And that has served us, I think, very well for the last almost 2 decades. Well, I don't see face-to-face education going away anytime soon. We know that schools play an important social role in helping young people. And I don't know what it's like, in your area, but most parents work outside the home, and so there's a custodial responsibility that schools have played. And so just for that reason alone, I can't see kids not going to school. Although we have more and more parents who are working from home, they're doing their day job, working for their boss, and they're not really available to teach during the day. I think we're going to continue to see online and blended learning grow. I think blended may actually have the greatest potential to really change the system. And my youngest child goes to high school, and she goes, she's got 5 classes a day. And each day she's going through, first hour, second hour, third hour, And I think in the future, she may go to first hour on Monday, but she may not go to first hour on Tuesday because she may be ahead, and she may not need the time with her teacher. And I think this notion of being able to customize the learning based on the need of the student And you know, if you were a teacher and you had 30 students in your class or more, it's not realistic to think that every student is ready to start chapter 3 today. And there are going to be kids that are further ahead. There are going to be kids that are kind of right on pace, and there are going to be kids that are slower and need more time. And I think this ability to shift and have the students coming into the classroom when there's a need for that one-on-one or small group activity lends itself to helping everyone achieve their potential, whether that's the progressive kids that are going faster or the slower students who need more time. The other big thing that I think we're just starting to see influence the way we live is artificial intelligence. And if you think, we have a little device at home called an Alexa. I don't know if you have those. Okay, you're shaking your head. I could look at my phone right now and say, who was the third president of the United States of America? Answers are really easy, right? I think it's this notion of trying to teach critical thinking skills, good research skills, the communication skills, the people skills. I mean, that's the value add that many schools, I think, will continue to play a very important role in. But I do believe artificial intelligence, this notion of having learning agents, things that can go out and search the internet based on topics that you're wanting to do research on and do work on your behalf. I just saw an interesting, somebody was telling me, you may not have a problem, but in the United States, when kids go from class to class, they're going through, usually it's an enclosed building, so they're going through hallways. And sometimes inappropriate behavior happens where kids are pushing or shoving or whatever. So I saw somebody was telling me not too long ago that they're now making hall monitors. These hall monitors are like little robots, and the hall monitors have been trained with artificial intelligence to identify what is inappropriate behavior. So if I were to push a fellow student and this little robot was able to see that, it would know that that's inappropriate behavior because it's been trained to look for that behavior. And it would video capture my face and the other student's face. And so that little 15-second audio clip or video clip would probably be sent to the principal or the vice principal. And there'd be no need for he said, she said. You'd have a video clip of it, and it would, But the other thing is that these little robots or hall monitors would have the ability to read your body temperature. And so if you think about a student who's got a fever of 102 degrees who's still at school, who's walking around the school contaminating all the classmates, the hall monitor would notice that your body temperature is 101, you're sick, you're running a fever. It's going to notify mom and dad, you got to come, you got a sick child, it's going to take them out of the classroom. So I don't think we've even begun to scratch the surface on what artificial intelligence, teachers who are teaching grammar and literature and helping kids learn how to be good writers. We've always heard that it takes a long time for teachers to read and score those papers. Well, artificial intelligence is already being used to score written papers, based on artificial intelligence. So I just think we're going to see more tools that are going to be developed, and hopefully the tools will be used not to replace a teacher, but to make a teacher more effective in their job so that they have more time for that one-on-one to work with a student to help them reach their full potential, whether they're an advanced learner or whether they're a struggling learner. And I think many educators fear that some of this technology could ultimately take their job. And I don't share that. Let's face it, if technology could replace you as a teacher, you probably weren't a very good teacher to begin with.